Hey everybody, so here we are, another little update vlog. So I guess first off, I should point out that I bleached my hair, finally. I don't know like what it is, like I promised myself the last couple of times that I would be more on top of doing this, and I was going to do it a couple months ago, right before I went back to work, like post quarantine or whatever. Anyway, yeah, so after going back to work, my whole work schedule has changed from what it used to be. So like when I do this, like I need at least 2 or 3 days where I know that I'm not going to be going out somewhere, to where I don't have to worry about the like in between stages of bleaching my hair. Because when I bleach my hair, I can't do it just once. Like I can't do it in one day. I have to do it in like at least 2 parts. And the last few times it's taken like more than 2 parts or 2 attempts of doing it, because like I do the under part first and get that kind of squared away, and that way if it's really blotchy or whatever, I can correct it, because like underneath is a lot darker than what's on top, and that way, you know, it a lot of times it won't lift that much, or it'll be really splotchy and blotchy and brassy and all that. And then like I'll do the next time, usually like the next day, I'll do the top part, and that way I can like, you know, get all this squared away underneath. And then like this up here lifts a lot faster than underneath anyway. But then the last several times I've tried that, I've had issues with my hair not lifting. And when I bleach my hair, I've always like, well, not always, but I've typically used a 30 volume developer, which that's kind of like, apparently you're pushing it when you use 30 volumes. I've tried 20 volume developer. It doesn't do anything really to lift my color. Like I can put it on and leave it on for like 2 hours and there's like barely any difference. There might be a lot of brassiness if anything. So 30 volume was kind of where it was at for me. And I've always heard, like, since I've understood the science between the different volumes of developer, I've always heard like 40, you don't want to deal with 40. 40 is dangerous. Like stay away from 40. You're committing hair suicide with 40. So I've kind of like listened. I've had some 40 volume developer that I would mix sometimes with 30 or with 20. Especially if I didn't have a lot of 30 on hand, I would mix it with the 20 that I had to kind of balance it out, because it kind of averages out. What is that? Okay, there's weird noise going on around here. Anywho, so steered away from 40 because like online everybody says avoid 40, and it got to the point to where like my hair just kind of stopped lifting like it used to. It wasn't too difficult for me to get my hair bleached to like almost platinum white in one go if I left it on for like an hour and 20 minutes, which apparently that's a big no-no too. Like when my mom was alive and she would do my hair, we'd leave it on for like an hour and a half. She used to do my hair, by the way, back when she was alive years ago. So it was so much more easier for me when she was around to do it, because she had been doing it her whole life pretty much. But anywho, so that aside, like this time around I'd like forget it, where I got a different kind of bleach. You know, there's some powder bleach. I hate the powder bleach. Then I started using the oil lightener bleach, the ion oil lightener, oil cream. Anyway, I thought that was okay, because it was like, to me it was a replacement of the Wella oil cream bleach stuff that they discontinued years ago. I'm making this all about hair bleach, and that was not where this video is supposed to like head. But anywho, so I tried another bleach that I bought that's like in a tube, like it's already like, it's a cream bleach and it's in a tube, and you just squeeze it out and then you just mix your developer with it. So I decided this time to go with a 40 volume developer. I'm like, I'm sick and tired of like having to redo this multiple times, and there's still like patches from like 3 times ago where it's super brassy. Well, it doesn't look super brassy on here, but like it's pretty much almost orange, and I cannot get it to lift. And I put, this time around, I put some, what I had left over on it. I didn't want to mix up anymore, so I just kind of put whatever was left over on it and just kind of help boost it. But anywho, I plan on staying on top of this. Like, you know, I might let it grow maybe 2 inches max before redoing it, because it's a whole process to do. Like, I feel like it's like overkill when it's just like short. When my roots are like maybe an inch, like I feel like it's overkill if I go and do that. Maybe I should do it just because just because it might make it easier in general. Here we go with the scratchy throat issue. Yeah, so I did that. I used 40 volume. I'm like, forget this, I'm just gonna go for it, whatever. My hair is like, it could withhold nuclear destruction, I'm sure. So I finally got it, like, just again, like 1 attempt each time without having to go back and redo it, touch up or anything. So I'm like, thank goodness. But what I do, I have this issue where, like, I feel like, you know, a lot of people use the toner where you buy the toner and then you mix it with developer, and I hate the developer. Like, that developer, I have a hard time washing the developer out of my hair. It just wants to cling on to my hair for dear life. And I'm pretty sure it's still in my hair now, but whatever. I've just learned to live with it, just whatever. But so I don't like doing that. Like, that's how you like get the brassiness out and make it. Oh my gosh, this cat is clawing me. She's like chewing or doing something, grooming herself, and she's really digging in at herself, and she's using me as like her to help balance herself. Anywho, so what I do instead of like mixing all that up to like tone and make my hair like the platinum blonde and everything is I like to mix like a hair dye with my conditioner that I like to use, and like leave it in for a couple minutes after washing all this mess out. You know, it helps to like in the process of conditioning, and plus it, you know, the dye helps to tone the hair. Well, I keep forgetting, or I maybe like I kind of was aware of it, but I was thinking, nah, we're not gonna have that problem this time. So I have a couple of different purple hair dyes, but one in particular that I like, I have a huge or a bigger quantity of it than I do the other stuff, and the consistency of it, like I like the formulation of it, like it's not clumpy, it's smooth, it blends well with the conditioner. But the thing is, even though like put it in, it has that nice purple, deep purple tone to it, but when I wash it out, it always leaves this blue cast in my hair, which camera isn't making it look nearly as bad, thankfully, but I've got like straight up blue, like my hair is just straight up blue tinted, and it's like, I don't know, in a couple of washes, it's gonna like mellow out, but oh my gosh, like if it was evenly tinted throughout, it wouldn't be so bad, but it's not. It's not. It's very patchy, especially like right like on this side of my hair, and then like right in this area, it's just really blue. Like you can kind of see it when the light. Oh, my battery's about to die. Un momento. All right, fresh battery. Good. Okay, so yeah, that's my hair story for now. Oh yeah, but yeah, so that's not my hair story for now. So basically, yeah, I did the conditioning, toning treatment, and like I said, in a few washes, it should be a lot better than it is. But I mean, it really does look better on camera. And it really looks best with the headband, because just without it, you really see the blue. And just like, at least this helps diffuse the way that my hair is like spread out. Yeah, so let's talk about what's been going on the past week. So I took a couple of weeks off from work, since inventory is over with, like we're done, over with, got that out of the way. Last week, so okay, I worked last Sunday. I was like, I'm gonna get like 1 day out of the week, or out of this time. Basically, I'm gonna work 1 day and have 13 days off. That way I can have at least one paycheck, I'll have something on it. And that way, because like Sunday's like the day that we do the job that I was actually hired for, since all this whole revamping stuff, even prior to the pandemic, they were trying to get to where we would just be doing markdowns for 1 day, maybe 2 days a week. Anywho, so I was like, at least I'll just work my typical job, you know, and then enjoy the rest of the week, because it's always better if you're going to travel. It's always best to, like, for price wise, it's always best to stay Sunday through Thursday. Those are going to be cheaper rates than Friday and Saturday night rates. So I'm like, you know, as long as I can take the time so that the days that we travel, the nights that we spend away will fall on those days. So that's my thing. If I travel, whether it be Sunday through Thursday, just for the sake of economics. Okay, so so the original plan was we were going to try to go to Panama City Beach, Florida, but we weren't going to book it until last minute because 2 years ago, 2018, we were down there for one day. I've told the story before, but went down there. We were going to go and spend 3 nights, but we ended up just spending the one night because while we were on the way down there, that we knew that there's a tropical storm headed that way. Like, we'd already booked it, couldn't get a refund, blah blah blah. Anywho, so by the time we got down there, at some point, like, I even had the radio, like all the local radio. So we go from Nashville to Panama City Beach, Florida. So we're going through the remainder of Tennessee, down through Alabama, and then into Florida. So I had the local radio stations. Like, I kept scanning the local radio stations, and you know, every so often, like during commercial breaks, they'll do like a weather forecast. Well, nothing was ever really said other than, you know, embrace for bad rain because of the tropical storm. So at some point during our commute down to Panama City Beach, Florida, it was upgraded to a hurricane. So by the time we got there and were ready to check into the room, that's when they told us that it's been upgraded to a hurricane and that there's an emergency evacuation as of 6 a.m. the next morning. So we could spend one night down there, but then we had to get out. Like, we had to leave. So that's what happened. We spent one night down there. So last year we wanted to go down there, but the time we wanted to go down there, they had an issue with bacteria in the water, and my dad has a skin condition where he has open wounds, and that was just a big no-no. Like, that kind of ruined that, and I've got to go take care of this with the cat. Also, I want to throw in that when traveling to places like Panama City Beach, Florida, you know, there's the whole season thing. Like, in the summertime, I think from pretty much Memorial Day to Labor Day, you know, late May to September, early September, prices are going to be a lot higher, especially in June and July. Like, mid-June to mid-July, or even late July, mid-June to like September. Anyway, that's when the prices are going to be the highest. So, like, that's like, I mean, it's a great time to be down there. My family, when I was little, that's the time that we would always go down there. It would be like usually in mid-June to early August, which the highest price time to be down there. But like, growing up, that's the time we always went down there. But as I got older, and now that, you know, I understand finances and I actually get to have say and, you know, everything, and now that we're actually getting to travel, because for a long, like, the last, well, pretty much my adult life while my mom was alive, we always talked about traveling, but we never did travel because we couldn't afford to. And it wasn't until I started dating and started traveling with boyfriends that I realized, hey, traveling isn't as expensive as I thought it was, or what we used to spend, especially now that the internet is available. Like, we got technology, we got smartphones, you can plan a vacation last minute literally, and, you know, be fine, but and find bargains. But anywho, so what I'm getting at is, so we've always kind of looked more towards like October, but given what happened 2 years ago, like, we're trying to like push it earlier, and we're thinking, oh, maybe sometime in mid-September, because I mean, prices are still high, but that's when the prices drop from the summer. Like, they're high, like October the prices drop even more. So but September, like after Labor Day, the prices drop quite a bit. So we were looking at that, but then they had the recent hurricane. Was it Hurricane Sandy? Is that the most recent one? it seemed like it started with the S. I want to say it was Hurricane Sandy. I could be horribly wrong. Anyway, that was like in the works, and we're like, oh no, honey, not gonna, or that had just passed by. Anyway, there's all these, I guess that one had just passed, but it avoided, it hit Destin, Orange Beach, Alabama, Gulf Shores, Alabama. It did a lot of damage more towards that way, and I think it flooded Panama City. Like, it flooded here. Like, for one day, we had major flooding, like, just down over in Antioch. The roads, like, pretty much every job that I've worked at in the past, like, any commute that I would have taken to any of the other jobs I worked at, they were all flooded. So I would, like, had I been working those other jobs, I would have been in trouble trying to get home from work. Because the roads had flooded, like, down, it was just bad. It was bad for one day, but then, like, overnight it kind of got better. So we had some slight effects from that. But anywho, so apparently Panama City Beach, Florida, the roads had flooded, but then I saw that, like, stuff was reopened, but, oh, what had happened originally, like, during that time, like, I had requested time off and then found out that the time I requested off was when we were having inventory, and the manager was like, hey, I can give you these other days off, but we need you, you have to be here for inventory. Like, apparently they can't do whatever. Okay, I'm not gonna go on that, like, they really need me, but not really. He was like, you know, I'll give you the other days off. And I'm like, well, can we just cancel that? And because I'm trying to plan a trip, and I was like, you know what, I'll just plan it for another time. So I decided to take the next 2 days, or not next 2 days, the next 2 weeks following inventory off, because I figure if any time to go, that this would be the time. Like, it's after inventory, it's before the holiday rush, and like, I feel like after inventory, that's when things would be lighter around work. Like, apparently they're getting more in this week, or they're supposed to be getting more in this week. This is when the trucks start coming in more. But anyway, so I feel like this would be the ideal time. If I'm going to take 2 weeks off, this would be a time to do it. And that's kind of like what I did last year with Vegas, except for last year I went in August. But that was kind of like after the well, that's kind of, anyway, back to school time. That's when school was kind of getting, anyway, it just whatever. Not that that matters about anything doing with this. Okay, so let me just explain every little tiny detail that I possibly can. Anywho, so we were gonna go to Florida the last week, my first day off, but then, like, it was still pretty much in the air. We're like, you know, we're gonna watch it. We'll literally book the room the day before, you know, or even the day of, depending on how the weather forecast looks. But then we were like, you know, but since it's the weather's very volatile at this point, you know, let's have a backup. Well, like, it's kind of hard. I mean, can't really go to Vegas now. I could, but it wouldn't be like as enjoyable. Like, the road trip wouldn't be as enjoyable given the current situation of the world. And then Tunica was another possibility, but Tunica, again, kind of in line with Vegas. Like, the casino's down there, but a lot of stuff from what I've heard is still not open. There's not really a lot to see or do in Tunica other than the casinos, but the environment of the casinos, like, given the current situation, and I've heard, like, a lot of the restaurants around the casinos are closed, so I was like, ooh. And plus they're not offering the free reward thing at the current moment for the one down there where I could get a free room for a night. So it's like, So, but I mean, we could get an inexpensive room, but anyway, it just wouldn't be as enjoyable. Like, Panama City Beach, from what I've heard, like, they lifted the mask mandate, so people, you didn't really, I don't think at the time that we would have been going down there, from what the news that I've heard, and currently this could have changed or may have not even been a thing, but it sounded like masks were no longer required. So that was kind of like a positive thing. Even though I am very pro-mask, I'm very much for wearing a mask in public for the sake of other people. But anyway, so we were thinking Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg, as long as it's not raining. Like, I was thinking, you know, if it's going to be raining, don't want to do that, because those two places are very much outdoor place. Like, you're going to be outside walking around. If you're going to do anything there, you're going to be outside walking around. So it's like, you know, the weather needs to be decent, at least. So, a super long story wrapped up. That's where we went. We went to Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg. So, let me note that. Okay, well, anywho, I don't know where I'm going with this right now. So, let me just continue on with the story portion. So, it was Sunday evening when I actually booked the first night. So I figured it'd be better, like, I was thinking just do one night at each place, because it's been like decades since my dad's been down there. It's been several years. Well, it's only been like 4 years since I've been down there. But, like, given his vision, like, there's a lot of limitations to what he can really do and enjoy down there. And I've got something in my eye right now. So I was thinking, like, really, there's no need at this point in time to stay more than one night in Gatlinburg and or Pigeon Forge. Like, there's a couple of places that I had in mind hitting up. We were talking about going and seeing. There's a lot more that I would have liked to have seen. Spoiler alert, but I didn't, but that's okay. Like, I feel like that's, anyway, given the price, well, the current price of the trip, and like, I know the price for Pigeon Forge, the room, is pretty stable for most of the year from what I recall. Anywho, I feel like that's a trip that I can take, like, whenever I have a few days. Like, if I wanted, like, say next month, if I had like 3 days off or something, that's something I could go do. Like, it takes from Nashville to there with the way I drive. I'm kind of weird with my driving. I'm a cautious driver, and I maintain the speed limit when I feel like, you know, like, uh-oh, let's be cautious in this area. But also I can be like a lead foot driver and get way up over the speed limit too. Anyway, with the way I was driving, it took about 4 hours. And also, like, as you get into Pigeon Forge, I guess Sevierville, there's a lot of heavy traffic. Like, I haven't been in that kind of traffic in a couple of years. So I don't remember it being like that the last couple of times I went down there, but it seemed like the time before that, it seemed like there's a lot of heavy traffic in that area. But anyway, whatever. So yeah, so that's what, first night, Gatlinburg. Second night, we went to Pigeon Forge. And the first night, like, I decided Sunday night, like, that's when we're gonna book it. Like, okay, we're definitely doing this in the morning, we're gonna go. So I booked the Gatlinburg one that night, and then when we got to Gatlinburg, that's when I booked the Pigeon Forge night. And I'm like, okay. So I kind of had a game plan, but anyway, it just, so, wow, this has become a super long video. So, I have footage from while we were there, but here's the thing. So again, because my dad's legally blind, and he's also half deaf, like, he's like literally half deaf, if not even more than half deaf. But so recording footage, it's like, he knows that I do this and I want to do it, and he's the one who has purchased Christmas gift. You know, he was into photography when he was younger, so he's all about, you know, good cameras, having the equipment for, like, cameras and everything. So he's very supportive of this, and we talk about, like, oh, things that I could film and whatnot, like, in general, like, here around town. But when it comes down to the actual getting out and doing stuff, it becomes complicated, given the way, because he likes to get out and do things, and I like for him to get out and do things too. And a lot of times there's a lot of things that I don't want to do by myself. Like, I don't know, but at the same time, I don't know, it's weird. Like, there's a lot of things I would like to do by myself, but at the same time, like, he likes to come with me, or he likes to get out and do things. And I think for his peace of mind and for my peace of mind, anywho, so so it's really hard to get out and film, like when he's around, because like I have to have him like on one of my arms guiding him and like vocalizing things to him. Like he has retinitis pigmentosa. I won't bore y'all with the details right now, but his vision, he can see a little bit, but it's extremely limited, and he used to see a lot better, but over especially the last 5 years, it's getting way worse. Like it's to the point now to where it's just hanging on by a literal thread. Like his retina is pretty much deteriorated. Like last time, a couple of years ago, when his ophthalmologist checked his eyes, his retina was just little tiny little particles just barely hanging on. So it's definitely gotten worse. So it's difficult for me to like film, and in the some of these videos he was filming for me, like so basically the first day that we were down there, like he's been talking about like if he had the money he would buy pinball machines, or he'd buy a pinball machine, but like we were talking about like all these self-made millionaires, and I was telling them about like you see the videos, like for instance he who shall not be named the beauty community, starts with the J, initials are JS. He has, what I was gonna say, hundreds of pinball machines, maybe not hundreds, but he has tens of pinball. I mean, he had like that whole room set up in his office of pinball machines. And so I was using that as an example of like these people. I'm like, hey, you know, if we ever won the big lottery jackpot, you know, and that's something like he would want to do, is have like a bunch of pinball machines. So like I was looking around, like the place we ended up staying, which we got a really great deal like on the room. Like, I mean, well, anywho, we got a good deal on the room for this time of the year, and it was right there on the strip in Gatlinburg. It's kind of like talking about the strip in Vegas. Like there's this strip in Gatlinburg where like all the tourist stuff is, like just on one strip, and like it's like downtown Nashville where you can pay to park, which shockingly, or maybe not so shockingly, it's a heck of a lot cheaper to park in downtown Gatlinburg than it is downtown Nashville. It's like Gatlinburg parking prices were, Nashville parking prices were like 10 plus years ago. I miss those days greatly. Like you could go, or I could go and find parking downtown Nashville. Like downtown parking on a busy concert night, $10 was expensive. $12 was insane. Now it's like during any given night, if you can find parking for like $10, it's like, oh my gosh. It's a great deal. But anywho, especially like if it's in the midst of things. Now you can find parking back further away from the central area of downtown where you, for that price, but I mean then you have to walk and all that mess. Anywho. But yeah, so we were staying right there on the strip in the midst of everything, which was great because that way we didn't have to, like, I knew if we walked, we didn't have to, well, I mean, we were going to walk. I knew we were going to walk, but I mean, that way I knew that we could walk to places and not be far away. Like, it wouldn't be a long walk back. It wouldn't be like walking in Vegas from one casino to the next. Let's put it that way. Which... okay, that was a whole, oh my gosh, that's part of why I didn't really film a lot in Vegas. And then what I did film didn't hardly, I've lost the footage now. Like I got, yeah, okay, well I could have made vlogs back then, but anywho, so yeah, but so I was looking at places that were around where we were staying, and I saw that there was a pinball museum, which I saw through Jordan the Lion's, or Days with Jordan the Lion's blog. Now, he had one fairly recently where he was in Vegas visiting Eric Singer, and they went to a pinball Hall of Fame museum thing, and I saw it and I was like, okay, next time I go to Vegas, we are hitting that up, because you basically go in there and then you put in your coins to play the pinball machines. Like, they have like pretty much every pinball machine in there, and you know, it looked like you just put quarters in to play it. So I saw Gatlinburg had one of those, so I I gathered up all my quarters to take with me. And also, like, I know they have those souvenir pressed penny machines throughout Gatlinburg, so I also gathered up a bunch of pennies. So I had a little bag of like quarters and pennies, and I was like, okay, this is it, we're gonna take this, we're gonna play with this. But anyway, we went to the pinball place, found out that it was kind of like a, I think Dave & Buster's is like that, where you have to have the card, like you put all your currency onto a special card and you use that on the machines. Anyway, I got footage of that, and so the sad thing was my dad didn't get to play, like he couldn't see well enough to play, and I like offered to be like, hey, I'll tell you like when to push the buttons if you want to, you know, want to play around. I'll tell you when to just press the buttons. But he was just like, don't even. So he filmed for me. But I noticed watching the footage back, I would kind of angle the camera a certain way, and then like before, like it like I realized what he was filming was more so of like, I wanted like the camera to show the like what was going on with the machine as I was playing, in addition to me playing, but it just mainly was just like me and like the baseboard of the machine in the background. So you missed a lot of the action in the video, but whatever. Which, I mean, that kind of like the whole point of filming the pinball thing, is to see like, oh, what's going on while the ball is bouncing around. But it is what it is. And also, another big thing we hit up, I do not understand the concept of a short vlog. I really don't. I swear, every time I'm like, no, we're gonna make this 20 minutes max, and just in that last video alone it was like over 20 minutes. So anywho, the next thing we were gonna hit up was the Hollywood, what is it, Star Car Museum. I've passed by it many times, but I've never actually been in it. Like, I always talked about going to it, but never, like my previous trips, never actually wound up going to it. But I've seen the brochures, and again I watched Jordan the Lion and a few other videos about it, and I saw what was in it. But like, it's been a while since I've seen those videos. Well, I guess the Jordan the Lion one, that was fairly recent. But so I had an idea of what was in there, but I just, like, a lot of it I'd forgotten about. And so like, I knew there's stuff in there that my dad would have liked to have seen. And he and my mom, back before I was born, they went in. I don't know if it was that one in particular that they went in. He thinks it is, but he was saying it was like on a different side of the street, and I'm not even sure it was around back then. But he'd been into one down there before, years ago. So he's like, he wanted to go. It was something that he was into seeing. Like, he definitely wanted to go see it. It was a decent price. So so we went. My word, he knew that I was going to be filming it, vlogging it and everything, and I haven't even begun editing the videos. I have so much footage. You think this is a long video? I've got so much footage from those other things, especially the Hollywood Car Museum. I think I was about to strangle him, and he was about to strangle me over this whole filming situation. And I think I'm gonna leave quite a bit of it in, just so y'all can get an idea of everyday life when we go out somewhere. This happens every time we go somewhere in public. Like, the struggle is real, guys. I don't know if other people who have disabled family and friends go through the same stuff on a regular basis like we do, but every time we go out in public somewhere, we go through this kind of stuff. So especially, there's one car in particular that I was trying to film that stands out in my mind, where I started over like 5 or 6 times, and every single time I get so far into my little, like, what I have to say, my little monologue about it, that in hindsight it's hilarious. Like, that night while we were, after the fact, we were talking about it, and and the next day too, and every time I thought back to it and I was telling him about it, it's just like, I started laughing and he started laughing, and in hindsight it was hilarious, but in that point in time, oh my gosh, we hated each other. But while we were, like, we went there, and I didn't realize, like, it said we got there a little after 8 o'clock, and that was kind of the goal, was kind of go about 8 o'clock, and then, like it said, it was open till 10, and so that we would there'd be about 2 hours, and I was like, oh, we can get through in 2 hours, no problem. But, like, right after 9 o'clock, like, we were maybe halfway through it, and maybe a little more than halfway through, but the lady who works there, who was overseeing the place, she came up and she asked us, like, you know, where we were, like, which way we were flowing with what we were viewing, and she's like, well, I hate to tell you this, but we're closing now. And I was like, oh, I'm like, oh, it's 9 o'clock, and she's like, yeah, we're closing an hour early due to the restrictions because of the pandemic. I was like, eh. But she told us, like, as long as we had our receipt, that we could come back in the next day, and which we did that. So yeah, we finished up. We got up early, like, we had to check out from the place, but we got up early enough so that we could go finish up the museum and then get checked out and then head over to Pigeon Forge. So that's what we did. But that one in particular, just, again, like, I don't know how I'm gonna edit everything. Like, I was gonna really edit it down, but I feel like I'm gonna spend so much time editing it regardless. But the more I have to sit there and cut out, the longer it's gonna take for me to edit, and which it will be a shorter video. But I think I'm just gonna leave a bunch of that stuff in, just because, for the sake of my sanity with editing. And so people can get, I don't know, maybe it's bad so that people get a feel and see, like, behind the scenes, because on one hand it looks like I'm a big brat, which maybe I am, but when you're living with it day in and day out, like, it's just like every single day, it's like every single time we go out somewhere, it's like the same thing over and over again. Like, you would think after so many years, you know, it'd be like commonplace to, like, our whole routine of things would, I don't know, just anywho. So I think I'm gonna leave a lot of that in. And also, like, another thing was, if we went down to Panama City, he loves Ferris wheels, but, like, his thing of Ferris wheels was, like, back in the old, like, fair days, where you go to a fair, like, back, I think, like, the Tennessee State Fairgrounds, back in his day, it was, like, Fair Park or some kind of, they had, like, a amusement park thing over there, and I guess it was, like, year-round or in the summertime or something, and I think they had a Ferris wheel set up all the time. I know they had, like, a roller coaster, which, if they had that today, that would be epic. But they don't. That's all. They're trying to get rid of the fairgrounds for this soccer club mess. Just, okay, we're not gonna get into that. But anywho, so yeah. Thing for Ferris wheel. So they have the Ferris wheel at the island in Pigeon Forge, and then they have the Ferris wheel at Pier Park in Panama City, which that was something when we were down there last time, we were going to do that, but of course, hurricane, they closed everything up early that evening, so we didn't really get to go out and explore or check anything out due to pending doom the next day. I understand why they do that. Like, you know, it's better to, you know, air caution and let's just go willy-nilly, and oh well, if it happens, it happens, you know. Want to keep the people safe, you know, just in case. So had we gone back to Panama City Beach, Florida, that was something we were going to do. We were going to walk to it that night. But where we stayed in Pigeon Forge, so there's the island Pigeon Forge. It's like outdoor shopping mall. It's not like your typical shopping mall. It's more of a kind of, I was gonna say more of like an indie shopping mall, which there are some chain stores in there. But anywho, they had the big Ferris wheel down there. I think it's just called the Wheel. So So that was something. We stayed right across the street from the island at a place called Island Inn Lodge. Is it just Island Inn Lodge? I've stayed there previously on another trip. But I was like, for the sake of it, like, you could just walk across the street to the island and not have to drive, which, because I can't really drive it in the dark. That's really dangerous for me and other people on the road, unless I'm really familiar with, but anyway. So, yeah, we walked across the street to the island as planned, and we got on the wheel, but that was I figured at nighttime would be better, like, because the daytime, like, especially if it's bright outside, the contrast of the brightness and everything, like, pretty much whites out everything for him. Like, a lot of times, especially if it's a sunny day, this is kind of like how I am with headlights at night. Like, the bright headlights white out everything, and the contrast, and as soon as they go away, everything's black for a while, and it just, like, it takes a while for my eyes to focus. But that's like him all day, like, the bright sun just kind of whites out everything for him. So I was thinking, like, and especially if it's bright out, it may not necessarily be sunny, but if it's bright outside, it's really hard for him. The best time for him to be out is like when it's cloudy and overcast. Like, my eyes appreciate that too, but that way he can get a better grasp of, like, what's around, like, see the silhouettes of what's around better. But I figured at night, like, even though it's dark, there's lights around. But while we were on there, like, I was filming a lot of it, pretty much most of the time we were up there on the wheel. He had no grasp of, like, no concept of what was going on. Like, he couldn't even tell that it was moving most of the time. Like, I was having to describe to him. I was like, can't you, like, are you able to, like, look over and see the lights down below? And I don't think he realized that he could, like, move further over to see, like, out the sides of the things. It was just, he didn't get to enjoy it as much as he thought he would. And in hindsight, he's like, I would have rather done it in the day, but just maybe another time. Maybe another time, another trip. Anywho, so, we did quite a bit of shopping down there, especially in Pigeon Forge. I think he liked Pigeon Forge a lot more. I kind of liked Pigeon Forge. Like, I was kind of iffy. Like, I've always thought of like, okay, Gatlinburg is one of those places where you find a place, you park yourself, or, you know, you're staying at a place, you're pretty much, your car's parked. You don't really drive around, you just walk around, like, if you're into the Strip. Now, there's other parts of Gatlinburg, but in general, like, when I think of Gatlinburg, I think of the Strip. Some people think of cabins in the woods. I've done that. But I think of more the tourist attractions down there. Like, to me, that's what's fun. Personally, to me. Like, the cabins in the woods and all that, it's really nice. It's beautiful, but I feel like around here, like, even though we have the traffic right in front of us, I feel like I kind of get a little bit of the vibes there because we're out on the front porch a lot on the swing, and, you know, that's kind of our vibe in general. So I feel like when we're going to, like, a place that's more busier, that had more geared to tourists, and I don't mean like downtown Nashville, but I mean like Gatlinburg, then I feel more like I'm on a vacation. That's kind of like how Panama City Beach, Front Beach Road is. Not to as much of a extreme as, not as condensed as Gatlinburg. It's a little more spread out, but still. So, Pigeon Forge is the same way, but with Pigeon Forge, you're pretty much going to be driving from place to place. Everything's spread out, and you're, I guess, among the parkway. I think that's what it's called, the parkway. And there's all that touristy stuff, but it's spread out. It's a lot like Front Beach Road in Panama City. It's basically like, my dad and I were having that discussion as we were driving out. I'm like, he's like, this is kind of like Florida. Like, oh, it kind of adds, like, describing the places around. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty much like Front Beach in Panama City, just minus the ocean and sand, you know, the whole beach part. But yeah, so we did quite a bit of shopping. But like what I was saying is, even though I don't care to drive, but along that stretch, I mean, it's a straight stretch pretty much, all the places to go shop at and everything, and it's like it wasn't too bad, and you don't have to pay for parking. That's what, there's lots of parking, like a lot of areas to park. You got options and you don't have to pay for it, so that was a good thing about that. And like what I said about like where we stayed, we were directly across from the island, so you just had to cross the road and you could be right there at the island. I mean, easy peasy. And there's some other little places across the street, which there's the Alcatraz East Museum was there, which I wanted to go check that out, and I talked about that in the past with him, but I was just like, not for this trip. I got a game plan for like if we do this again sometime in the near future, like maybe not the rest of this year, but early, like spring next year, like I got a game plan of like how we're gonna do things differently and better. But yeah. Oh, and so while we were at the island, I did a little shopping. So there's, like I said, a bunch of little stores, and there was, well, let me grab my little bag here. Like I was saying, the island has a bunch of like little, like, they do have some chain stores, but a lot of them, at least from what I gather, from what I've observed, a lot of them seem to be like little independently owned stores. They might have like they might have a few other locations spread out, but in general, like, they had a Claire's there. I think they had a Claire's, and then they had Earthbound Trading, which Earthbound Trading, oh my goodness, that location was closed at the time that we were there. I think they had like closed up for the night when we went by there. But there's this other store there, like, and I saw the name of it, and I just had to go in just because of the name. But it was called Sparkles, and my dad, I was like, oh, we gotta go into the store, and he's like, what is this? And I was like, it's called Sparkles. And he's like, oh gosh, he's like, yep, that's right up your alley, that's your middle name right there. And so went into it, and basically it's like Claire's, but it's not as like over, like, I mean, it was a small little hole in the wall store, but it has like a lot of the little jewelry and accessories like Claire's, but it's not quite like, I feel like Claire's has a lot of stuff that, like, that could be for little girls. I know, like, some of that stuff's trendy, like the Hello Kitty stuff, little cartoon stuff, but some of that stuff you can tell is like straight up for like little girls, like little girl makeup, like little 4 or 5 year old girls. But Sparkles, they had a lot of the cutesy stuff, but it didn't really, I didn't get like little girl vibes. Like, I felt like it was more like grown up but kiddish too, and they didn't have as much stuff, like not as much as In Your Face. But there'd been another little store we went in prior to that, and I forgot what it's called. It's just one of those little touristy souvenir shops, and they had what I'm going to show you, but they had different ones, and they were kind of like, the concept of it was cool. I've seen a few people here on YouTube buy these and do them here on YouTube, but they didn't have like, just the options there. I was just kind of like, I was like, you know what, like their little necklace charms, I was like, you know what, not vibing with this. I'm like, if in my mind I was thinking, you know, if they had had a unicorn, I would have bought that like that. And so when we went in Sparkles, I found like a whole wall of this stuff, and they had one unicorn left. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, okay, getting this, and it was the same price as the other store. Like, I felt like these were good prices anyway. But not only did they have the unicorn, but they had a mermaid. I was like, oh, I'm getting 2 of them. Do I need to? Nope. Do I even need one? Nope. But I'm getting them because this is my vibes. Had they had a fairy, I would have gotten that one as well. But anyway, so here's the little bag from Sparkles. I love it. Hot pink. It's so my vibe. Like, okay, so like my whole thing with this time off from work was that I'm trying to launch my Etsy store finally, which I've had so many, like, so I have this whole brand of thing, or this whole line, or whatever you want, a conglomerate, let's just call it, called House of Womack. Like, that's the overall thing. And then from House of Womack, I've had the line, the Moondream line, which that was like my original Etsy store, which I've had stuff in the past, didn't really do much with it, but in general that was going to be my store, which now it's kind of become Moondream Boutique. But it's like everybody and their mama and brother and sister are using the name Moondream. Like back in the day when I registered for the Etsy store, it wasn't as common. I think the most common thing associated with Moondream back then was a My Little Pony, which I didn't realize there was even a Moondream My Little Pony, but apparently there was. So that was my shtick for a while. And then when I was in school, doing my music business stuff at MTSU and taking business classes, because I was minoring in, I think I was minoring in entrepreneurship. I know that's what was kind of minoring, or going to be my minor at my other college. It's sad, I can't even remember exactly. I know I was a music business major. Recording industry with concentration in music business. That was my major. My minor was business, but it had to be something specific in business, and I think it was entrepreneurship. Anywho, so all this stemmed from classes that I did. But so House of Womack was going to be like my main shtick, but from there, before that actually I'd had Sparkle Elegante, because I had my Elegante Seville. Like I've had several different Cadillac Sevilles, and they all have like, there's either the custom model, or back then they had the Elegante model, which I had a custom, and then I had an Elegante, and then I ended up with another custom. So I was thinking, Sparkle Elegante, that seems perfect. It's like Sparkle Elegance, elegant sparkle, you know, that kind of thing. That was going to be more my my fancier stuff, my like Swarovski. At one point in time I was going to try doing like wire work stuff with, and it was all going to be like sterling silver, Swarovski, you know, higher quality materials. Maybe not so much higher quality materials these days, but it's still there, lingering as kind of like my more bougie looking stuff. I don't know. And then I was going to have my BA Star line, like the initials BA, which is kind of like my initials flipped around. Star. So like the whole, like when I was at MTSU, my whole thing was, let us show you how House of Womack to be a star, which be a star was going to be like my rock star line. Like a lot of it was going to be upcycled clothing, like stuff that had been revamped, like old jeans revamped with like painting like stars and rainbows and with rhinestones and studs and all that. And like this, like when I had the ability and realized that I could create this is part of the BA Star line, the shirts and everything. The unicorn was part of the concept that I had created for all this in my mind back then. And then like I was able to like actually, okay, wow, this blog is all over the place. So you know what, oh, anywho, that's the conception of it all. So bringing it back to the sparkles. So if I were going to have a store in real life that pre-existed to carry my stuff, Sparkles would be the perfect store to carry my merchandise. I'm just saying. So yeah, so Sparkles. Let me see if I think I got the receipt in here. Let me just get on and show you what I actually bought, because that's the whole purpose of this. So here, and what it is, it's the little, okay, so it's unicorn. You see the nice little unicorn necklace right there. Open it up, boom, freshwater pearl. So I see those videos all the time on Facebook of like the freshwater pearl people who, like, I guess it's a multi-level marketing thing. Like I haven't really actually sat there and watched it. I've kind of looked into it because the whole concept, and being somebody who works with, like, makes jewelry, and I love freshwater pearls, okay? Gosh, I need to just do a video about my jewelry stuff. Anywho, you know, they do these videos where I guess a distributor person has access to this, and then they have people who buy the clams virtually, and then the person like gets all the clams themselves, and they do these videos and open like, oh, this person's pearl up, okay, this is pearl you get, haha, so I'm gonna send it to you. Which that, to me, that takes away the fun. Like, if I'm gonna be buying like one of these, I don't want somebody else doing it for me. I want to be the one doing it. I want to be the one opening up. So they have these handy dandy little kit things where you get to do it yourself. So it comes with a nice little clam thing and a little water, and then it comes with a necklace that you can pop it into, and then it has like the little key, like depending on what color or pearl you get, like it has the different meanings. Like, well, I'm not gonna, you know what, my whole thing, like after getting this, I was thinking, oh, this would be awesome for a video. Like, I'll make a video of me doing this sometime in the future. And so anyway, I got this one. Okay, so I mean, come on, again, unicorn, hello. Oh, that was another thing. Like, one of my old usernames was unicorn. The channel before this, you can look it up right now. Like, go look for unicorn diamond. Oh no, well, I think there's other people who use that name, but there's a video where, like, my last video on there is like talking about my new channel, which is this channel. So, I mean, come on. Again, my shtick, and that's another shtick of mine, is unicorns. Like sparkle unicorns and mermaids. Love me some mermaids. But yeah, so I saw this one with that little mermaid charm, and I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta get that too. So yeah, and then again, you get the little clam. So that's gonna be fun when the time comes. And they were only $9.99, which, I mean, I just feel like these were pretty good deals, in my opinion. I'm just saying. So maybe there will be a video soon about these. And I'm swear I did not mean to go on so long about, like, I start out, I say it time and time again, I don't mean to do videos this long, but, and like a lot of times I start out, I'm like, I kind of have an idea of like maybe like what I want to talk about, but I don't really know, like when I start out, I don't really know how I'm going to start out and how it's going to flow. I just enjoy talking to you guys so much. That's what it is. Like, if it was me out in the real world, like, I hardly talk at all to anybody unless we get on the conversation that's just, you know, where I can really talk about things. And I guess that's the whole thing with this. Like, since this is my video, I get to control where the conversation goes, and y'all just get to suffer through it. Those who sit through it suffer through it, maybe. Or maybe you like it. I hope you like my talking. I don't know. I guess if you didn't like it, you would click out and you wouldn't even be saying this right now. So anyway, we're just gonna wrap that up. My next videos, I don't know if I'm gonna say anything in my other videos, like my Gatlinburg videos and Pigeon Forge videos, because there's just gonna be so much editing to do. It's gonna take me a while to edit, I'm sure. And I don't know if I'm gonna feel like rehashing everything, but this is the video where I've talk about and explain the trip. And so yeah, so that's the deal with those videos. And if they just seem kind of like, I don't know, just kind of like unhinged, but I don't think that's the word that I really want to use to describe them. They just seem kind of not bizarre. Well, we'll just go with unhinged. That's why. Just I'm just being a lazy bum, but I also kind of like want to give y'all like a behind the scenes of like what life is really like. And that's like when I record stuff, like when he's with me and I record, that's pretty typical. And a lot of stuff, that's probably why I never did much editing with the Vegas. Like, I had a lot of Vegas footage, but it was hard to like sit there and go through and edit things because of all the editing I would have done. It would have been little minuscule, like, second long clips with stuff like 5 to 10 seconds removed, and like another, it was just And I didn't really, at that point in time, I really didn't want to leave that stuff in either. But, and that's like, I don't really necessarily want to leave it in. Like, I'd rather it be more polished. But then again, my editing skills, I'm not very polished anyway. So, that's just kind of real life. Just, it's real life, what it is. That's what it is. So, that's why. So, and yeah. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now because this is probably going to be an hour long total. And anywho, I hope everybody's doing well. Staying safe, staying healthy. And I'll see you in the next video. And thank you for watching too. Especially if you stuck through the end and watched this whole thing. Thank you and bless your soul for doing that because you are awesome. So, take care.